Okay, so we're back with Sandy Feddema, and he's going to give me a little bit of a tour and tell me a little bit about what it is that he does.
When I came down here, I saw a whole different culture than where we lived in New Jersey, because a lot of the people down here either worked in all the businesses in South Jersey. It was Coca-Cola, 7-Up, ketchup companies, everything. And people just went right from high school right into work. We're up in North Jersey. We had no idea what we were going to do, so they threw us in college for 4 years. And we still didn't know what we were going to do when we got out. But down here, people already had established their way of living. And when all the businesses left and these people were trained only in the business that is no longer existing down here, it went to a barter economy, sort of. And the barter economy was the people in the glass company were the glass dealers, and the people that did metal detecting were Indians, and fishermen were in fishing, and farming were in farming. Everybody had their skill. But when I came down here, the boy who just did coins as a little boy had no competition. I just was the coin guy. So I learned the way of South Jersey bartering. When I find something the glass guy wants, or somebody who has the glass, they go to the glass guy, and all the glass guys come to me for the coins. And it's a wonderful existence. I've done well by that, and I've made a lot of friends because I find I stick out here just like Flavia does, like a sore thumb. We'll be tourists down here until we're 90 years old. Well, Flavia is 90 years old. But when I'm 90 years old, we'll still be a tourist, because the way of living, you just can't adjust quite. I have great friends and everything else, but we accept each other's differences, and we're still learning about how different we are every time something comes up. But that's why I feel like part of the society, because I was never a big money person anyway, like North Jersey people mostly are. I was stuff. I was always been stuff. So I landed like a pig in mud right down here. I'm just in my own territory. If you want to see a few of the pieces that
Love to. Sure. I'll follow you. Show me what you'd... Well, yeah, there's so much history in all of these pieces.
There was a house that I cleaned out in Fairton, New Jersey. It was a little split revel. The door was locked when I went over to look at the house, but there was a little corner cupboard, and I saw a few knickknacks and odds and things. So she said, well, come back the next day, and then you can have everything. The family has what you want, and you clean the house for us. I said, oh, that's a good deal. But when I walked in the door, about 3 feet high, sloped down in the dining room was sand. This lady, had made a beach in her dining room. And there was a TV tray, a beach chair, driftwood, play toys, and me and my 87 Ford Ranger went 6 trips back to return the sand to the beach. But in the meantime, we found lots of treasures. There are treasures that I shared with all my people. I kept a few of them. We had little fossils and antique souvenirs from Atlantic City, and just odds and ends, little
Treasures, though.
Treasures. It was a treasure hunt. It was a South Jersey treasure hunt. Also, this thing is really heavy. This is a Regina music player. I'm going to lift it up. This right here is made out of stone. That's red quartz and jade and white quartz. Hold on a second. We're going to have to find a good home for it.
I like your giraffe.
Thank you. That was another little treasure just picked up. He has an 8-foot brother down at my shop, down at the thrift store downtown.
Where is your shop, Sandy?
You know Goldie's thrift shop downtown?
Yes.
The senior thrift? That's what I'm running for now.
Oh, okay.
And that is another whole story. This is a Regina music player that was made in the late 1800s. In Rahway, New Jersey, we have we do an Airbnb. The Airbnb room is right on top. And this is the way we wake the guests up for breakfast. If they don't get up early, we go to the marches over here, and we get them up. This is one of the treasures that the story goes a little deeper than that. When the Sewell who lived here, Dr. Sewell, they call this the music room. And somehow, Bitsy Sewell got a piano in here. And we can't get a refrigerator from here to the kitchen, but they got a piano in here. So now it's back to being the music room, and we feel very good about that.
Where did you find this piece?
This piece came from a barterer in Greenwich. He was a lifetime hustler. He went around knocking on doors and asking people if they had any treasure that they wanted to share. Something I've never had the courage or the ambition to do, but he did very well by it, and he came up with a lot of interesting things.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I'll have to stop in your store downtown one day.
You should.
Well, I will. One day I definitely will.
And also, in the way of treasures, we did get this 19th century couch. We don't need two couches in this room. Because of the artwork, the seashell and the beehive, we know that it dates to the mid-1800s. And they put little drawers in it. Fine work, but they didn't really care about the back end. They just wanted to have a place to keep their 18th century valuables in. We'll just let our imagination run wild with that.
Yeah, I guess they were probably not keeping their remote control.
Remotes and their cell phones were not in there. It'd probably be
That's
going
beautiful.
and pistols and whatever else they may have had. I'm going to put this thing that weighs 1,000 pounds back on the Asperia. So this one is a reverse painted light that, if everything has a story, I like it. This is a story of an Indian princess.
Oh, wow.
Who says goodbye to her brave as he goes off to work in a canoe to war. But the canoe comes back empty. And the last frame is she's putting flowers in the canoe and sending it back down the river. I said, that's for me. I like a story.
I like a story as well.
This is also handmade in Woodstown. I'm not going to go through the whole story. I will, but you can edit it if you like. Oak tree with an acorn on top. When I first got it, it was for my scotch glass. It worked very well. And then when I quit drinking, it went for my pistachios. And that served me very well. But when my teeth left, I went to sweet candies, hard candies. And then when I turned into a diabetic, it went for my pills. And now I'm keeping it out of sight because the next thing it's going to do for me is hold my ashes at the funeral home. So we're keeping it out of sight for a while.
It's all purpose.
It's all purpose thing. You talk about readapting. That one's been readapted 5 times just in my life.
I love the clocks as well.
Clocks are a really good story. They're just very common clocks. This is the original clock, but this guy was a woodworker, and he put frames around it to make them unique clocks. He had some clocks that were the whole wall. He would just make a whole wall around the clock. Those are the only 2 that I could fit. That's the ones I took from him.
I love how there is a story.
Everything
behind all of these
everything has a
pieces.
story. Everything has a story. If it doesn't have a story, it doesn't have a place here.
Understood.
Going this way, this is one of the shells that I found. This is dated 1840 in the sand from Ferden, and a couple of the shells that I found. Watch your head here. This is something that came to us on Flavia's 80th birthday. It was in the Dixie cup from Princeton. It's a begonia, and we've made maybe 100 cuttings of it now. We replenish it when the cats destroy it. We put another one up, but we give cuttings to all our Airbnb people, so it's all over the country now.
That's wonderful. My mom does that. My mom has
But this one comes, of course, with a story. It came from Princeton, and the original cutting came from Albert Einstein's office in Princeton. If you go on the internet and see Einstein's begonia, you can read the story about how this actual plant was in Einstein's office. So that gives it a little more significance. You just rub it on a little bit and you're heir to Einstein. This is where Flavia and I spend the whole winter because the kitchen, being an 1820 house, is on a slab and it's cold on the north side. So we have a fire every night. We have our dinner here. We watch TV. That's Spanky's chair. This is Puff's chair. And we're just happy right here. We watch TV.
You get some nice light in here.
You get the winter afternoon sun, which helps a little bit. And
Gorgeous.
it's very comfortable. I just got introduced to glass when I came down here. North Jersey didn't know anything about glass because it didn't have the sand and the glass blowing. So we were just enamored by hand-blown glass. And these are what they call whimsies because they do them at the end of the day where the glass blowers can get a little extra cash instead of making vases all the time. They show their originality by just being totally crazy. This whimsy maker wanted to get out of the office fast, so he just used all his glass at one time and said, okay, I'm out of here. Because you're not allowed to leave the glass still there. You have to use all the glass that you have. And going back in the story, this is what I found. It's a cameo that is still on the shelf. Somebody had did some unbelievable work on it. But to find this in the stand, it was just like, it was a buried treasure. So he gets, and I showed it to a lot of people, and I haven't dropped it yet. So I'm going to continue my good luck and get it back in there, I hope. There you go. This is made out of aluminum blinds. Someone didn't think it was a treasure and had thrown it in the garbage.
Well, you know what they say.
That's it. This man's, it's my treasure. So it just works really good here with the light.
I love it.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is a nice thing.
I love it.
And I take you, Flavia's office is always moving because of her, that's Puff.
I love all the books.
Lots of books. This was two doctors' offices, so this would be their office right here. And it's really strange that this was doctors that were here, because when you look out the window, you can see the courthouse.
Right.
Because all the others are filled with those lawyers, and they've taken up all the old...
there's lawyers.
Anyway, so this was uniquely a doctor's office.
Do you know what year this house was built?
Started, 1820?
Sure. Tell me.
The part that we were in first, that includes the dining room, was built in the 80s. And then the whole house was added to once they built the walls through. They decided to construct a more Victorian house and added on this section. As you can see, the sandstone.
I'm gonna go back to that story again.
Sandstone here. The sandstone, same sandstone is on our wall.
Right.
And the granite on the other side of the...
So we can date it to when they actually made the wall.
And the fireplace goes through into both rooms.
No, well, it's back to back.
Two fireplaces, I say.
So this was added on in probably the 1870s, 80s, 1880s.
So this section was an addition, I say.
Which adds to another story, because we do have 3 working fireplaces, and the 4th fireplace was in the dining room where you were. They raised the roof when they put the addition on and the 2nd floor on, so that chimney ends in the attic. And supposedly, when Dr. Sewell came home from war as the medic in World War II, he brought a souvenir, which was a German Luger. And Mrs. Sewell, who had 3 kids at the time, was not really pleased with that. So the story through Helen and Bitsy is that Mom went up to the attic and dropped the gun down the chimney, which is blocked off over here. So after we told the grandkids this story, it was bamboo and duct tape and clothes hangers, and we went up there because we could see a big white thing and then a plastic bag. So the little guy, the little grandkid we held by the feet, he snagged the plastic bag and pulling it up, and it's pretty heavy, and we get it up, and we're just all sorts of excited. When we opened it up, it was 2 boxes of bullets. So he said, this is really good. So...
Was it bullets for a Luger?
No, actually, it was 9mm.
Okay.
Don't ruin my story.
Okay.
I don't tell people that story, because anyway, it might even be better. It might have been an officer's pearl-handled 9 Luger. Okay, I get my story back to a treasure in there. Anyway... we have the house tour, as you know here, the first Saturday of every December, the holiday tour. And everybody gets to the fireplace and we tell them the story. And wow. So they come back. We said, this time we found bullets. And the next story, this guy who does Delaware dredging said, okay, I have magnets and hooks and stuff. Let's get the other piece. So he snagged that big plastic towel, actually, and got it halfway up, and it broke into 2 pieces. And the big piece is still down there. But when we got the other piece up, it was an 80s Bible. Now, my version of the story is that they cut out of the Bible to put the gun in to cushion the fall, and the heavy part is still down there. Then we had the pandemic, and I got a little bit of a break for all the people demanding to know the next installment of the story. And now my back's against the wall, against the fireplace, because I haven't done anything. I actually have a $500 offer for the contents of the fireplace, which is getting tempting, but then the story ends. And what is anything without a story? So
Have a story.
that's the story.
Okay, so we still, if you ever find more, you'll have to let us know so we can
Absolutely.
document it.
Exactly. We had, all stories do end. You know, we don't know the ending yet.
Sometimes that's a good thing.
I just want to apologize for the state of this room. But it carries its own story. As you can tell, I guess, maybe you can't tell, I don't know. I have an art practice that is represented in this pile of stuff. My daughter is also an artist, and we are working on a possible show that we do together. So I'm going through all of my past artwork to try to pick out things that might have value for.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Please keep me posted if you decide to.
Have it here at Gallery 50, and Nina and I would both be represented in our work.
Well, we will definitely keep an eye out for that. I did an interview over at Gallery 50. Sharon Kiefer gave me a tour last year, and so we're due for another tour of Gallery 50. It would be lovely if your artwork is on exhibit.
Well, because they are so booked ahead, but we hope it'll come in before something dire happens to me.
Well, I would love to keep in touch and check that out.
Okay, thank you.
What is your medium? What do you like to use?
Well, I do a lot of drawing, and lately, and of course, during the pandemic, I started doing digital drawing. So I have a lot of digital drawing, but what you see here is actual physical drawing.
That's amazing. That's wonderful.
That's Bill Spencer. You may know Bill Spencer.
Yes, this is Sandy himself. And I do some photography. I probably can tell, too, a couple of photographs there.
Wonderful.
I actually won a prize at the gallery for a photograph.
That's wonderful. You're busy.
There's some scraps of artwork in here.
She's not giving you the good tour. She really is quite an artist.
These are the frames
And sculptor.
that, we're trying to adaptively reuse.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you very much for showing me all of your treasures, or some of your treasures. Not all, but some. Wonderful. Maybe before I leave, I can go outside and get a photograph of the wall.
It was a Tuesday morning, the middle of June. At 7:30, we had just had about 11 inches of rain that previous week, and they came to my door of the city and said, "Your wall collapsed. Get it fixed as soon as you can. It's blocking the sidewalk." And we saw the other wall over there, which was exposed. We had winter jasmine over our wall. We didn't really see any problems. But when I went to look, the whole sidewalk was blocked, and I was scared that there might even be some little kids underneath the dirt. It was just a massive amount of dirt. So what happened was the wall gave way on the bottom and just slid everything out.
This is an amazing view from up here.
What's even better up, when the parades go by, we throw candy down to the parade. But to make a very long story short, neither the city who built the wall in the mid-1800s to open up all this way for expansion wanted to claim it, and our insurance company didn't want to claim it, and said, it's your wall, you rebuild it. Well, bottomless pit of money. It was $120-something thousand, and it's not really what you would call an everyday homeowner's task. So what we did, for 3 years, us two 70-year-olds put together, with the help of a local contractor, a cement contractor, to rebuild the bottom wall. And then we built it. You want to come down?
Sure.
We rebuilt a second wall because this was a slope going down to the first wall. We decided to put in a terrace, put in this 8-foot wall here. Now, this came from all sandstone throughout the city. People would volunteer their sandstone. We have a pile. Here's an old foundation here. You can have the old foundation, but it took us quite a while. You can get a good picture of it from here. It was a legitimate tank. It goes 3 feet underground. It's 4-foot wide foundation. We used again and everywhere we could to rebuild this whole thing.
Did you rebuild down here or just up top here?
90 feet of the first wall and this entire wall.
I see. What a view.
It's quite nice. It's quite nice. You feel like you're in the country.
You do. And the courthouse is just over here.
Like Groundhog Day, when you look out of our guest room, it's in the street that's snowing, and you don't usually have a road that comes right into your...
Sure, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of money.
There was no help from the city. I don't want to make...
Sure, I understand. But it ties into what we've been saying about, how hard all the pieces have to be in place in order to properly preserve properties and the land that goes with it.
Joint effort. It's not a joint effort.
Right. It takes a village, for sure. Thank you very much, Sandy.
One of the best ways you can support the Bridgeton Beacon is to go to the Bridgeton Beacon YouTube channel and hit subscribe. When you hit subscribe, we're going to need you to also click the little bell icon so that you actually get alerts when we post new episodes. But this is a great way for you to support the Bridgeton Beacon in lieu of an actual donation or monetary support.